Hello everybody, I am here in Dahab with a wonderful friend of mine, Hira Hosen, and I'm really excited to be interviewing her today, sharing some of her knowledge and her frequency and her beautiful energy with all of you, and I'm sure you are all really excited to hear what Hira has to share with us. Hira is a magical, awakened superhero on planet Earth. She'll have things like, she'll tell us stories like, I'm off to the desert to like regrid the planetary awakening and channeling stars and like really thinking big mission in terms of your purpose and the work you're doing. And I feel you're someone who really knows her power. And this is something really beautiful to sense and also to remember, because I feel every woman has that power, but many of us are like shy and like playing small, and Hira's really not into that. She's like, I came here for a purpose, so maybe that's something we can go into today. I'm really honored to have you with us, Hira.
Thank you.
And also really grateful for our sisterhood and our bond, and we've been having really good times and connections, and you initiated us for our wedding last year, and that was really powerful.
Amazing.
So we've been having really good times, and just really grateful to have you here with us.
Thank you.
So Hira, tell me a bit about yourself, maybe just to start somewhere. Like, what would you like to share with the audience about who you are and how you ended up doing what you do in the world?
It's interesting because only about a few months ago I discovered that I was actually born awake. So that means that when you come into the body as a soul, that you can probably forget who you are and what you came for, because the whole birthing process is really intense. Like really, actually, like when you are being birthed, it is it's kind of a very painful process.
Yeah.
So when it happens, what happens is there's so much pain that we forget who we are, where we're from, what is the mission and everything.
Yeah.
So somehow I was so focused that I remembered it, but it was not an easy process. And for example, I've been doing a lot of meditation. So my husband and me, we are Buddhist, and one of the things that we say there is that the death process is much more easy than the birth.
It's like,
yeah, the death is like you're free, you're open, you don't have the limitation of the body, and you're free. And the birth is like you're this unlimited consciousness being put it into this tiny little body, and then you need to breathe, and the whole thing it's not easy.
yeah.
So I discovered, and I've always known, but I had hidden it far in my heart, actually, in the back of my heart. I was hiding it, that I was born awake, but it was so intense and so powerful and so painful that I immediately kind of was hiding in my heart, like I cannot deal with this world, I cannot deal with this frequency, I cannot deal with the heaviness, and then hide there. And then so somehow I have the feeling that it took me, because I'm now like 47, so it took me a long time to come to that point of like, yeah, I was born awake and I am awake, and and a lot of people, happily you're awake, like a lot of people are wakening up awake. What does it mean? Like we have this whole concept about it, like awakening is like you're enlightened or you're this, but it's not. Awakening just means you are kind of in your heart and free to create the reality you want.
And that's actually what I wanted to ask you. Like, we talk about awakening, we talk about spirituality, it almost becomes this abstract, but what is this thing that you knew that you were born with and in? What is awakening? Even I'm trying to understand with awakened woman, like what is the awakened woman?
Yeah.
There's a feeling, there's a frequency, there's clarity sometimes, but it's almost like every woman has a piece of the puzzle. So what is that piece for you?
For me, it's like to be alive, like to vibrate, to feel the life running through my body and like expressing itself. So not something that I am, but more like life and all of its gestures and all of its facets and all of its, also not only like love and light, but also difficult things and challenging things, and but it all has different vibrations. So it's like, can I allow those vibrations to run through my body, especially the body, right?
Yeah.
run through my consciousness, run through my mind, run through my heart, run through my breath, run through my what I'm saying, what I'm doing, what I'm saying. Yeah, and then I'm like, that's an awakening moment. That's just like bomb. Like whatever I'm feeling it. Whatever I'm thinking, like, but it doesn't mean you're controlled by it. You just like, you're not hiding for what you're in that moment, like really living.
Beautiful, like, yeah. And it sounds also, what I feel when you're speaking, it's almost like the woman or the body becomes a vessel. And I'm wondering, the connection that came is, how did your training as a Zen nun, as a Buddhist nun, help you become that vessel? Like, what is that knowledge or the upgrade or the learning that allowed you to allow? Tell me.
Yeah, so I think it's all pretty simple, because the whole, nun thing or the Zen thing or the Buddhist thing, it's all like being in the moment. So why sit 10 years in the Zen temple like we did? It's just to be able to focus and to know, like deeply know, that there is nothing else than this moment. So it's pretty simple, and yet it's very difficult, right? Because we have, as the Buddhists say, we have 84,000 different thoughts every day, in one day. 84,000
distractions, basically.
In one day, okay? Distractions. So it's like weird, and that's only the thoughts. Can you imagine the feelings?
The feelings.
Can you imagine the whatever? It's like you're taking in the I'm looking at you and I'm thinking, like, of course that you're real, and that this is a real, and
am I
everything.
Real?
Yes.
Are you sure? Sometimes after certain experiences, I'm like, am I real? Am I real? Am I like? Yeah. It gets confusing sometimes.
It gets confusing because on the high, I call it level confusion. Because on the highest level, nothing is real in that sense. Everything is a dream. But then if you look at, if I'm going to hit you because I'm going to say anyway you're not real, and I'm going to harm you, then you're making level confusion because you're very real.
On this level,
we're very real.
So the level we're speaking from, that things are not real, it's like the highest level.
Exactly, it's the highest level. So what people do is they have a little awakening, and then they make level confusion because they're like, oh, nothing is real, so I don't care, I can do whatever I want, and then start harming themselves or harming people. So that's that's not
that's not what we're talking about.
That's not like. If you're at that level, then we say everything is real.
Yeah,
better take it as real than as not real. Don't use that the fact that nothing is real or a dream.
If you take it in that way, it means you're not ready for that.
I agree.
Right?
Or you might have a moment where you're ready, you take it in, but don't think that then for the rest of your life everything is a dream, so I can do whatever I want.
So how can you balance between that higher knowledge and living on Earth, which is, as you said, there's so much going on? How did not just being as a monk, but being here and living the adventurous, crazy life you live, teach you to balance between living in the other worlds and dimensions and living here on Earth day to day? And
it's a fine balance, huh? I mean, I think the fact that, for example, having a daughter, she's 13 now, like it forced me.
And that's a story in and of itself.
True.
She was born in the monastery, right?
Yeah, no, she wasn't born there. She was born and then we got it. So she really came with it. Like, but it's like, that really grounded me because I was all over the place, and I really, which is great. I needed that experience. But now I can kind of have that same experience of seeing different worlds, but at the same time being very realistic and not go out of my body so much. Just really do it in the
grounding.
Body.
So how, is there something you would recommend to people watching in terms of, because you're probably the most multidimensional person I know, you're just traveling, you're always experiencing, you have this sense of like there is so much going on in the moment.
True.
And how would you recommend people who feel that as well, who feel the intensity, who feel the many worlds, to ground back in the body? What is a practice or a way or perspective?
You can do breath. It's the most simple. The Buddhists say there's 3 doors. Okay, there's the door of the body, the door of the speech, and the door of the mind, which for them is the same as the door of the heart. So mind, heart for them is the same. So these 3 doors back into the source of who you are always there.
Yeah, so you said the body,
the body,
really being in touch with the body, the words we speak, like being a frequency
and also with the words we speak is the communication, also means silence and also means breath. So,
Wow.
like watching your breath and watching it, like when you work, because you're breathing anyway. So you better, if you become aware of your breath, you're back in the moment, you're back in your body, you're back in this, what's really happening, you're not out there. And then the third one is the mind-heart connection. It's also a door. So for example, like when you're doing something, you can't say, I cannot practice right now, I'm doing the dishes, or I'm walking around, I'm shopping, I'm doing whatever, I'm on my phone. Basically, when you get lost in that action, like I'm on my phone, for example, you can also do that action, but at the same time have like some sort of reflection backwards that your body is in this position.
That my
and
body
not like
is
that.
upright.
My body is like this. My breath is shallow. My mind is, I don't know, somewhere where
82,000?
Yeah, exactly.
So bringing it all back to the present. Maybe
all the time.
That's the thing. We talk about presence a lot, right? The power of now.
Yeah.
And maybe it takes time for that awareness to really land in the body. But when it lands, you realize it's so rich. It's not like, okay, it's like my body present, my mind present, my feelings present.
Yeah.
And all of reality just like in this moment.
Yeah.
And then that becomes a portal, right? And do you want to say more, because you work a lot with the heart and how that's central to all of this?
Yeah. So one of the newest things that I'm whatever, the names are changing always. Like it's living in the heart, but now I like more the term source portal. Ooh. So I feel that I am a source portal, and that I'm for
you
example,
totally are.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks. Yeah. Like that's the compliment in the series.
That's
not
exactly,
the source portal. I see you as the source portal that you are.
Exactly. Thank you.
I love that.
Yeah. So that's what we all are. We are an energy that is alive, that is coming through our being, and that we can actually mend and mold and shape and transform in our own way. So it's not somebody forcing us, it's just we're having a certain energy and it's coming through us, and it's unique to all of us. So that's basically the main point. The main point is that you're not going to take anything from anywhere else. You are creating from the inside out. This is the main point.
Yeah, and I feel one of my discoveries, and you always remind me this, like how much my presence, because everyone has their signature, is in the body so deeply that the body sometimes feels like a weight or something kind of like static. But when we start to discover it's a whole cosmos, like when we have experiences where you experience your body as cosmos, that's also a level of feminine awakening that is so relevant to women, right? Because maybe masculine awakening is like your husband, maybe it's like that Zen kind of spacious. And then the feminine, there's something about coming back through the body, maybe into that. But like it's like juicy and deep and inwards. And when Julia here in Dahab, when she gives me massages, and I'm just like, something is moving in my body, and it's every cell is a whole being, it's a whole consciousness, and that's really it blows my mind sometimes. It's supposed to blow the mind.
It's supposed to be. I mean, we forget that the body is the sacred vehicle, right? Like we don't treat it right.
Yeah.
So we force it to. We don't sleep right. We don't eat right. We don't do. Like we force it into all the things, like, no, I want to be on my phone more, or I want to be, well, the body might be telling you already 4 hours ago that it's tired, like, I'm tired, can we rest? But we're not resting, and we keep on doing it.
And you think that doesn't matter, but it's the most important
thing.
It
is. Yeah. So when we're really in tune with the body, then we become that vehicle. If we're not in tune with the body, then the mind is doing something else, the body is doing something else, your emotions is doing something else. It's like you're existing on 3 different dimensions, and they're not aligned. Because you're in the mind doing something, in the body doing something completely else.
You're in so many places.
Yeah, you're just all over the place. And so that's what you want to align.
And maybe that's the first oneness. We talk about oneness with animals, oneness with the cosmos, oneness with people. But the first form of oneness is with myself.
Exactly.
With the layers of me just coming into me.
Yeah, completely.
That's so powerful.
Yeah. And this is, it's a nice balance, right? So you get some information from outside, some teaching, some inspiration and everything. Yeah. But then the most important is how am I going to integrate it?
That's the biggest word, right? And all the work we do, integrate the work, not just take all these learnings and like, okay, next one.
Yeah.
Like to own it in the body.
Exactly.
You know what I love about these interviews? I get to learn so much by talking and going deep. I feel it's like such a, like each time so many insights. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, and your energy is so bubbly and sparkly that it's such a pleasure. It's not even like it's not even an interview. We are being source portal right now.
Yeah,
like,
source portals. I love that.
And then just like transmitting that, and everybody
Let's
feels
transmit
it.
some of the source portal.
Exactly.
Do you feel it? I think they feel it. So speaking of source portals, this is something I feel it's really rare to meet a woman really in her mission. In her mission, like globally, not mission like, I'm starting a small brand. No, like you're even beyond that. Like there's something that you came to do on a planetary level. I'd like to ask you how you discovered that. What was the progress of that journey and where you are now in relation to your mission, to your purpose? I know it's a big one.
You're going for it, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I agree with you. Just go
unless we
for
can
it.
do small talk. So,
exactly.
how's your morning? You went for a swim in the sea.
I did.
The taste of the
see. Love my dress. But
You
anyway,
really do like that dress.
I actually do like my dress. So my mission, like definitely, it's on many different levels. So sometimes it will come out in a one-to-one. Sometimes it will come out in seriously doing like the dishes.
Yeah.
Like I can do the dishes and have like downloads, and then or have channelings or even Isis or any of the Egyptian goddesses coming through, and I'm like, I'm doing the dishes right now, like, and she's like, yeah,
trying to be ordinary.
Yeah. I'm trying to do something practical right now. Yeah. So everything is mixed, but I couldn't do that 20 years ago. So 20 years ago, I had to sit in meditation, and I had to sit in meditation for 10 years, like constantly, and focus my energy on it.
Like actually in a monastery,
Actually
meditating for 10 years. How many hours a day?
Exactly. It's only 1.5 hours a day, but it's like really in the morning, and it wasn't comfortable. It's not like, oh, I'm in a comfortable bed. It's like very, and for the rest, you learn to live in that. It's a philosophy, you could say, or a way of life.
Yeah.
So and then every month we would have a retreat, and then every year, every summer and winter, and then the retreats would be longer. Sometimes like from 7 in the morning until like really late, and then I guess 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
Like, and you're sitting like that, and you're not.
Yeah, we learned the thing yesterday.
Yeah, you're not moving a hair. Huh?
Yeah.
So it's like you're completely.
There's
still.
such a beauty in that. But back to the purpose.
The purpose. So basically, one of the purposes that I came for was that I knew I have planned it, like so many of us. I knew that this world was going to go to what we call ascension. So like the planet is raising its frequency, and humanity was eventually, like in the beginning, we were all going to make that shift. So I was here to help humanity really make that shift. But then in 2012, something happened, like it changed. The human collective had another point of view, and a lot of people wanted to do the old game, let's say, like of duality, light and dark, kind of like...
It's almost like we almost got there, but then like there was something in the system that we're not there yet.
And a lot of people said, I don't want to.
And just to explain, what do you mean by duality? Not everyone fully under...
Right, duality is like... it's like when you say something is good or bad. So there's a dark force and a light force. And of course, there is that dark force, and of course there is a light force. But if you want to go into unity consciousness, you have to go above it or beyond it or through it or whatever you want. But you have to go out of that judgment, let's say,
that
or go out
so
of that
difficult,
dynamic.
Right?
No, it
like
is,
even I feel
hard.
Like it's hard not.
It's very hard. I mean, even as a light worker, you're kind of still in duality because you're judging the darkness, or you are, saying that that's bad and that you're better and that you're saving the world. And so even light workers still have a lot of those programs, saving the world, saving Gaia, this and that. We need to save the earth. The earth doesn't need to be saved at all. Like, she is so powerful.
Yeah.
She's bomb. Like, if she wants,
like
everybody's out. Yeah, of course, she's orchestrating. She's the one leading the whole ascension.
Yeah.
It's just that we were supposed to do it all together, and then in 2012 something happened, and the majority is actually choosing the other timeline, which is, so it's like a timeline.
And what's
split.
that timeline that people are choosing that's really preventing the ascension or the
They're
evolution
choosing
of
fear over
fear?
love. Yeah,
and that's the highest frequency. We're seeing that everywhere, right? On TV, on the media, in education, with all the stuff that's happening.
Fear,
we're not going to talk specifics, but it's fear. It's just everyone is afraid.
Yeah.
And that's not a coincidence. And they blame it outside, but really it's about sparking.
It's about here. If you can transform that fear into love.
How can they do that? That's a really important thing to...
They can do it by being honest. Like just really being honest with yourself, and that when you feel something, instead of pushing it away, not wanting to feel it, to feel it and say, but what's really going on? What am I really feeling here? Okay, I have a bit of fear here for, I don't know, and there's a whole list, like for my life, my health, my society, my family, and then that's fine to have that fear, but then process that fear out of your system to be able to become free. So this would be one.
So
like
how
one
you
of
process
the main
it after
things.
you see it, you feel it. Is it just about choosing love, or there's a deep?
It's about like when you process your fear, the love that you are will come out naturally. So you don't need to do anything else. Then when you process your fears constantly, there's nothing else to do. That love
You're
will
giving
just
it
come
space
out because you are already that. It's like we're always thinking, I need to become something more. I need to go higher. I need to change my personality. I need to, but it's not true. It's about taking out the stuff you're not. So you're not that fear. It's just a program. So you're taking it out, and when you take it out, then you realize that what you truly are is good. Like, not good in the sense of good and bad, but you are that goodness, you are that pureness, you are that love, you are that light. So you don't need to do anything. All you need to do is just to get those layers and programs out of your system, basically.
I've always felt the deepest spirituality has nothing to do with the building, and it's all about the purification.
That's it.
And clearing, and that's where when that insight, that moment really clicks, you realize you're already there, you're already doing it. There's nowhere to go to ascend to, but to remember
to go in your heart.
You said that oneness thing. I feel that's a big one also, where we can go beyond the light, the dark. Like, does God or goddess or divine being love all its creations, including the serial killers, including Hitler, including nations that are oppressing other nations? And that's so hard for the human binary mind and 3D reality.
It is, because of course when you harm someone, like Hitler, like of course when he was harming so many people, it's obviously you wouldn't say that's fine and I love you. But again, it's the level of confusion. So, of course, on the human level, it's absolutely insane. It's insanity, it's wrong, it's, all that. But when you go to a level higher where everything exists in oneness, then you see that duality that you were speaking about.
And it has a purpose, maybe to show the light, No,
I wouldn't go that far. I would just say that, because I can't go into it too specifically, because then I would go into their story. So I can't. So I'm just saying that we needed some of that duality to create the juice for our evolution to step beyond
it's like that pressure, like the diamond in the earth, the pressure to squeeze it.
That's it.
The other thing maybe is that non-participating. Like to get emotionally involved and all that, sometimes it feels so right, it feels so human, it feels so Aries, fire. But sometimes the highest choice is also to observe from the distance, and from that distance we can make a higher judgment, a higher strategy, a higher evolution, ascension. But it's by getting involved and getting into those feelings, the fear, the anger, that we paralyze our true higher choices, maybe. Maybe. I don't know. It's not an easy one.
It's a balance. No, exactly. Again, it's a balance. It's like when you want to take action, so you want to change the world. That's a beautiful intention. Like that's, that comes from very deep. And that's why I'm here. That's why you're here. That's why we're doing this. That's why we're doing all of this. So it's a good intention, but if there's any righteousness, it's the word is like it keeps coming back. Remember yesterday we talked about it, and the day before we talked about this righteousness.
I'm right and you're wrong.
That's what it is. Like I'm right and you're wrong. that righteousness is in the way of you making the right action. Because if you're
but what is
making
the
an
right action? You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
But that's
There
a good
is no-
question.
yeah.
Keep on asking yourself that question until you come to a point where the action will spontaneously arise from within you. Not like I'm taking an action because I'm going to change this.
Yeah.
It's not like that, because then there's already righteousness there. It goes
Mind.
very fast.
Yeah.
It goes very fast. So you need to kind of like come to a place of resting in yourself, resting more and more until
And
like
then
something
that-
will come, and then
that's the
you're not
truth.
thinking about it, and bam, it just hits.
Oof.
It's not even you. It's just bam. It's just the right action. And of course, like I'm talking about it, and I'm thinking, well, I make a lot of actions that are not from that place. So I'm not
Yeah.
saying, and I think that's important to say.
It's a process.
Is that
It's
it's
like
a
you perfect
process,
it.
and it's not like
like
because I'm sitting here and I'm teaching this and I'm doing that, and that goes for everyone, that I am on top of all of that. It's just I feel it very deeply inside, and I slowly get to the right
Tune
action, the
more
right
towards
tune
that.
more balanced,
Yeah.
and it's a process.
maybe it used to be 10% and now it's 70%.
Exactly.
That's
like
great
before
progress.
my actions, I told you some of them. They were, 3
Crazy
years
stories
ago.
of the
Exactly.
pyramids
Exactly.
in Egypt,
Yeah.
in Turkey.
Which was nice, but still.
I love that about you. You're such a free soul. And actually, this is one of the things I got to know more this time, and it's been really like refreshing. Because when we think of Buddhist nun, or all that's all about discipline, and part of what's so refreshing about you and Doik as a couple, as humans, as souls, is you're really liberated even from that. You're like the wild nun. Like you fell in love in the monastery, and all even the boxes that serve the high spirituality, you broke free from them to a higher level of spirituality, to create your own, your unconventional, your truth, your day-to-day choices, and the way you do your family, the way you do your couple. Like even watching you as a couple, it's like you're so conscious. Every word. You remember last time when we were not this trip but the last trip, and you said something and then it came back, and then you're like, I don't think I would have said that. We need to like the word, like with the philosophy, it matters what I said. And that level of consciousness, it's so refreshing. But I also wanted to ask you more about that, because you broke free from the monastery, you broke free from, you love Zen, a lot of traditions served you, but then you also broke free from that. And can you tell me more about that process, and maybe something that would also be like reflected, like people maybe they love what they practice, they love certain aspects of their culture, how can they respect and take what they need and also do their own unique rebellious version of life that doesn't fit in any box?
I think like things like this, like I think in my heart I will be a Zen nun until I die, and probably in other lifetimes as well. It's something that is I've been doing in many lifetimes, and I will do again. But I think that the beauty of it is that you can take from let's call it a dogma or a religion or a spiritual teaching or any of these things, a school, or even a system, like governmental system or an organization. You can be part of it for some time. Like I took 10 years there, 4 years there, 10 years there, 5 years there. So I don't go in lightly. I don't go in like, I'll just taste a little bit and then I go. No, I go in.
You go in 10 years.
I go in like food. I give my whole being to it. And then, but I never kind of do it completely and then forget who I am. It's very important to remember, like, even if you lose yourself into it, to remember, like, okay, but it's
to ask
still
yourself, like,
something
who am I?
outside of me, right? It's still something that is serving me, and I am serving them. I'm giving them my energy, and it's giving me energy. But how far do I go with it, and who am I in all of this? And then I mean, in the Zen, like, breaking free is like, it sounds like I was in prison, but I wasn't. I was there with free will, right? But of course, after 10 years, you are so entrenched. It's breathing through you. You become that lineage. You become that teaching. You become that that religion. You become that philosophy. And then, of course, if you decide like, okay, now I need to go in another direction, then sometimes you have to be kind of really strict with that, because then you can't do half like, I'll just do a little meditation 5 minutes a day and go. Like, if you do it fully, give yourself fully, but then if you decide to move on, then do that too. Don't be afraid to.
Don't do middle ways. They don't. That's not what we're talking about.
Well, it's funny because the whole Buddhism is about
the middle way.
Yeah.
No middle way.
Not
You
me.
go full, yeah. And I love what you asked. I feel that's something to constantly, like, as practice, is something that you can get maybe from this talk, to keep going back. Who am I? Even in this conversation.
Exactly.
Who am I?
And also don't forget, it's like, we give our power away to be empowered. So you have to, like, okay, I give my power to this teaching, I give my power to this teacher, I give my power to my husband or my wife or my family. Like, you give your power away, but then you need to be very careful for how does this
don't give too much
me?
of your power away.
Yeah, how does this empower me? So you can do it for a while, but then see again at what stage. And also, I'm very grateful. Like, if I wouldn't have done that 10 years in the temple, I would not be where I am now.
Yeah.
If I wouldn't have done, all these teachings that I've done over the past 20 years and more, they served me, I wouldn't do it now. So now it's a balance.
Yeah.
So you ask me, like, how do you, kind of make it your own? Then I say, like, it's the same thing we keep saying from the beginning. It's like that source energy coming from you will start to create something. You can like next week you can be in a whole different timeline with different people, different, so you can create that from you. And so then there's gratitude. Like, I feel so much gratitude for all these teachings and all these different systems that I've worked with. And then you integrate it and then you transform it. And when you transform it, this is what I feel, is that because I'm transforming it,
you bring your own
I'm bringing my own thing, but I'm also again feeding them with gratitude. So I'm still giving, and I'm still receiving, but just not in that, like, okay, now I have to put that dress and sit like this for hours and this
not
and that.
according to their rules.
Not according to their rules, like according to mine. But if I wouldn't have done those 10 years, I wouldn't have had the understanding. Because this is it, like, a lot of people go into spirituality and they're like, I'm spiritual now and I do what I want, and they don't understand that it's a very deep, we're talking about very, very, very deep inside of ourselves. Is that knowledge, is that completion, is that, like, I am complete inside, I am love, I am light. But there's so many layers of programs that once we hit one of the layers, we're like, yoo-hoo, I'm there,
like
I'm super cool. It's the ego takes over immediately, right? It's like, I'm a teacher now, I have money now, I have this, I have that, I got it. But then you're like, no, actually you just hit another layer.
You just hit the first layer of 100.
And actually maybe that layer is even worse than the one before. Like spiritual ego, right? Spiritual ego is even worse than a let's say, a person who's never done anything spiritual or religious or anything like that, like ordinary ego,
it's even more
the spiritual ego
dangerous.
Is worse. Exactly.
And so maybe part of what you're saying, it's like humble ourselves, even especially in the spiritual journey. Like, we never know anything. In the moment we think we know something, then we are falling into the spiritual ego. Because the universe, life is so mysterious. And actually this quality is the quality of the feminine, like acknowledging the mystery, loving the mystery, not feeling like I know everything, I understand everything, I know better than he does, I had more shamanic journeys. It's not about that. It's just you doing your own inner work deeply, layers, and probably at the age of 100 you'll still be at the tip, because this is one out of many journeys we'll be taking as souls, right?
Yeah, I think so too. I think actually, like, because now I'm like 47, right? So when I now look,
you're not.
Yes, I am. So when I now look like back at like 20 years ago, I then I'm like, wow, I had a lot of that spiritual ego. I had a lot of I know. And now when I have that feeling, I immediately know that is not it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, that's fine, you can feel that, but this is not it.
And there's a fine balance there. Like, there's something I always, even in Awakened Woman, in the program I do with women, in the coaching, there's a word I always please ask them to remove. It's I don't know. Because even if part of us needs to humble to I don't know anything, there's also a part that needs to honor the part that knows.
True.
So it's like a conversation between the I don't know, the bigger I don't know, and the I know. Yeah. I know what I want. I know who I am. I know what I stand for.
Yeah.
So having that balance in life between the not knowing and the knowing from the gut. And I wanted to ask you, maybe to start to wrap it up, in relation to the woman's work we're doing and the awakening of women specifically in the Arab world. Where do you feel we are, and where is the next level? Like from where we are to just one level, we're not taking 10 levels. Where is the next level of women's awakening in the Arab world?
Yeah, very
it's a big
question.
I feel
because I am living now in Egypt, right? Since 2 years. I've been always coming to Egypt like 30 years ago already. So I've always been in connection with the Arabic world.
Just the mic, maybe.
With the Arabic world in that sense. And when I see the disempowerment that women have received in their Arabic world, I feel so much compassion, and I also feel so much like I'm impressed because these are the women that have been oppressed on so many levels.
What does that look like? Can you tell me like what you noticed? Because also you're from Holland, you know, you had a different maybe upbringing and background. What did you notice? Also there's compassion, so there's no judgment, but just noticing. I noticed this.
The needing to hide, even just the body, like why hide your smile? Why hide your hair? You're beautiful as you are. Why does someone else decide on, even if it's your brother or your father or your family, or why does someone else decide on how you wish to represent yourself to the world? And of course, I have many friends that are veiled, for example. I have so much respect for it. So it's not like saying you should or shouldn't. It's I'm absolutely not having that conversation here. I'm just saying there might be some women that do not wish to do that but feel obliged. Because if they don't do it, then they're not a good woman, or they're not respectful, or you know, something like that. So these types of things, as a girl from Holland, we never had to even go through there.
Of course,
I could always dress like I wanted, and I could. And I mean, in Amsterdam, you would have seen the way I dressed. It was insane.
You wild things.
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
But that's the interesting part, the contrast, where we go back from that judgment or right and wrong, but there's different ways of being. And it's fine that there's different ways. So like we understand that, you know, different people make different choices, cultures have different, let's say, standards or values. And at the same time, when you bring it back to every woman watching and every woman born in the Arab world, just to start asking those questions like, why should I hide? What am I hiding? What is my true fear? What is the true shame? Who gets to decide for me? Because maybe you feel very strongly you want to dress very conservatively, but maybe you have a desire not to do that. You have a desire to wear colors and attract attention. So just to start questioning. We're not talking about breaking anything.
No.
We leave that to the Zen Buddhist monks and the crazy wild women as well. But even I have my boundaries. There's places where I'm still not at the level, like when I was before I married Ihab, and I wanted to live on my own, and it was hard for me to, you know, sacrifice my whole family who would disown me and do that. So we all have places where we are still limited, and to own them, and maybe just to ask better questions. So what's a good question? You said like with visibility, like how can I be more seen, or what are other questions that women can ask themselves?
You can ask your questions like, where are my boundaries?
Where are my boundaries?
Because boundaries is huge. It's like, because it's funny.
And my boundaries, not my culture or my father's. My boundaries.
Like, how do I feel? Because it's very funny that the more free that I am, like now that, you know, I'm out of the monastery and I'm not doing the more free that I am, it's very funny, the more boundaries that I am voluntarily putting on myself. It's very funny. It's like that boundary felt like a prison before. Now that I'm free, I'm going even more back. I'm becoming even more conservative, let's say, or whatever. And it's very funny because it's total free will. And I feel more comfortable with that.
Which means it can
I'm
change
dressed
over
like
time.
this, for example, now because we're having fun and it's beautiful here. But when I'm in my own home in the Sinai, I'm not dressed like this at all. I'm much more conservative, or you know, hiding my body, and I'm liking it. It's very weird because I've always been fighting, like literally fighting for the freedom of a woman to address and
then
to
you can
express itself.
empathize why it actually feels good
and then I'm doing that, and I'm feeling so feeling so loved, because I'm loving my body and saying I don't want any, because the men here are different. The men in Holland and Europe, they don't look at you when you're like this. Maybe they have a little smile like you're beautiful, but they won't look at you like that. Like, and in Egypt, if you walk like this, they think that you want to go with them and I don't know, have sex. Sorry to say, but this is what they think. So for me, my body needs to be protected. So I'm like, okay, let's protect my body, because I don't want a man to look at me and think that I'm inviting him to for anything. So it's very interesting how...
It's interesting dynamic.
Exactly. How I'm coming from so free, and now I'm enjoying to actually cover myself, and that's not here, but I'm covering to feel protected, because I don't want them to think that way.
And I think what you're pointing to is so interesting, because part of what it points to, what you're pointing to points to something, so many pointing, but is also the need for men allies, like not just the woman to awaken and feel empowered, but the men to go back to their awakened manhood, which is to protect women, not to make us feel unsafe, to respect women and not look whenever you can get a piece of skin, because that's what makes women afraid and they want to hide, because that's energy. That's not just someone looking, that's someone sending an energy that your body feels, no thank you. And so part of the awakening is so importantly about alliance, and men waking up as well, not just women kind of like doing, you know, the old feminist thing of like hating men. No, we also need to be part of families awakening, men awakening, couples awakening. And that's part of the joy me and Ihab have had to hang out with you and your husband, that you know, like conscious couples on the same level, and like feeling each other's energy and feeling the compatibility of like consciousness. And that's the same for women and men. We can't be evolving as women and the men are these little like rats who are like, that doesn't work. That doesn't work.
There's something very equal there, right? And it's like when I see the
men as rats, that's so weird. Like,
that's
those men, the ones that like that, you know.
No, I totally agree with it. It's like I think it's about openness, because when you, for example, when I see you saying something to Ihab, like, you know, can we do this like this or in a different way, and then you see me saying that to my husband, I'm with him since like 16 or 17 years, so I don't go about it like halfway. I'm just like, honey, bomb, you know, and then he's like, you know, and it's funny, because it's not like we are fighting or anything. It's just like we know each other so well. That safety zone is so solid, so it cannot be touched. That why put flowers over it? It's like, honey, can you just stop talking now? I want to say something. It's like,
you guys are so
we're you know, and other people would say like, this
like,
couple,
honey,
is this a Zen
I don't want to talk about that. We're gonna move now.
Exactly. Is this a Zen couple? Because she comes in so you know, and he doesn't respond very lightly and lovingly, and then I'm laughing because I'm like, that's, you know, and that's openness. I think you know, when anyway, the ideal couple doesn't exist. So it's a work that you have together, like the man, the woman, like, or any other, you know, constructions of to women, to men. It doesn't matter. Like that dynamic is like openness, I think. Well, if you can be open and then slowly work it out, it's not like something that happens in a day. It's something that really like, and that when it's solid and the base is there, then you can do whatever. You're free. I mean, my husband allows me to, you know, even that is like allows me to. I mean, I'm free. But when I compare him to other men,
in a relationship,
complete freedom. So when I see other men, I'm like, oh yeah, this one doesn't want his wife to see a friend right now, or this one doesn't want her husband to go, I don't know, this and that sport with another woman, or, you know, there's so many layers in there that, of course, in the beginning you don't go like, okay, well, it's completely free. It's like we worked on this. Like
you build the solid foundation and values.
In the beginning, there was no one like that. It was just like it was just us. And then slowly, we started to learn. Like, okay, we can open up. We can allow this in our relationship, but allow not that. So it's a process. I think. It's a process.
And I think also that what we're talking about, it's like so many levels and layers of the inner work with myself, with who am I, with those questions we ask, with your purpose, with your being a vessel, the source portal to your relationships and your relationship to your body. It's like there is so much work, not in a bad way that's like, oh, I have to work all day. No, it's like life is the school, the initiation, the ascension, and all these parts we looked at are just like fragments. We can talk for 10 hours about these things and we wouldn't even tap the surface of what is real spiritual work, which is, it's a life journey. And it's so rich and it's exciting and it's difficult sometimes. And I think it goes back to the full in. Like, either you're full in, you're willing to ask yourself those questions, to be courageous, because it takes courage to be a spiritual warrior, to be a spiritual, I'm not going to say servant, because I don't feel it's the age of like servitude anymore, to be a spiritual like voice, to be...
That's it, the voice. I love that, because it's not even about, I mean, I used to be a warrior in so many lifetimes, you don't imagine, and I'm done. I'm like, I'm not a warrior at all anymore. I'm not even like a light worker. I'm just a light being. You know, just like and just like all of us basically, because that's our pure
calling
essence,
all light
essence.
Beings.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
What is a final message you'd like to leave the wonderful light beings watching us today?
I think that's it. I think that, and if we remember that our essence, not only of our body but our mind and all these different levels that we exist in, if we understand that our essence is light or love, you know, playfulness, beauty, confidence, like all these beautiful qualities that that we are. When we realize that that's already who we are and that's already like who we will always be, then what else is there to do than just to be? To be that. Yes, to be that.
And that becomes the purpose. Just to be that.
It's just
nothing to do.
Nothing to do, just to breathe and be.
I love that. Thank you, Hira, for your wisdom and your wild stories and your being and your work in the world. And the gentleness of your soul. Like, I really enjoy being around you, and the same thing you said yesterday, it's like I feel safe and I feel seen and I feel like respected, like there's such a, I don't know, like you see, you know, and that's really beautiful. So thank you. And I also want to share, if you want to share just a few words about the program you offer, Awakening the Heart, or if anyone wants to know more or to learn more about what Hira does. Ihab said it's one of the most powerful things or courses or trainings he's done. I want to take it maybe this month, so maybe you can say a few words about it.
Sure. It's a course that's set up by a specific school that I'm part of since 10 years. It's a mystery school. And so what we do in this course is like a 4-day course, and now I decided to put it in 2 weekends so that when people have to work, they can do it in the weekend. And so it's it's a lot of exercises, healing, methods to learn how to meditate in the heart, and also how to activate your light body. So this is we're going a level higher there, like really what is a light body, and you know, how can you activate it. And we are realigning places in the body, the third eye, opening it, the pineal gland, we're working with it. We're realigning it to the heart where there's 2 different spaces. The brain becomes female, the heart becomes male, masculine, so your polarity actually changes. And that, it's very intense and very beautiful. So
wait, but why is the heart male?
It changes because you do a certain technique that you link the heart and the brain in a certain way that the heart becomes, and then the heart can lead. Because the brain is kind of subdued, like it's in a really good, pleasurable, connection. And then the brain is like, okay, heart, what are we doing? And the heart is like, we're doing this, we're doing that. So it becomes more masculine.
Let the heart beat the way.
It literally changes.
And you have some dates coming up soon, right? So I don't know if this needs to be translated, so I don't know if it will be released in time for these dates, but it's ongoing.
It's ongoing,
And I'll put the links if you want to be in touch with Hira, there's a photo.
Exactly.
Hira,
It was Hira, then Hira, now it's Hira again, whatever.
Really awesome awakened woman. Thank you, Hira, for sharing. Thank you everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Leave us your comments, any questions you have for Hira or me, or about the Awakened Woman podcast interview, or anything. Just leave us your comments. Let us know how you enjoyed this, and if you have anything to share. We love you. We send you all the blessings from Sinai, really sacred land, right? We're feeling it. I feel so good. Even Ihab was like, don't lie, you feel so good here. I was like, okay, I feel really good. So blessings also to the land, to the hub for hosting us. We're leaving today to St. Catherine, and just the whole experience has been magical. So thank you for watching. Thank you, Hira. And thank you to myself for just being here. all the love, and see you soon.